I'm gonna forward this
Thank you.
down. All right. Could you guys check if you got it?
Oh, did you just have some?
Yeah, I just forwarded it to Jesse.
Oh, you got it.
Oh, you got it? Perfect. Alright, let's do the approval again. Sorry, guys. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Alright, the minutes passes. Thank you, Gary. Okay, chair update. I don't have anything to update for this week because I was sick on the exec and I couldn't make it, and I don't think Jesse made it too, so I'm afraid I don't have anything from my side, but Gabby did ask me to spread the word to everybody, like please forward the graph formal email as wide as you can and to anybody you can, because I looked at ticket sales, we still have 400 tickets still available. Yeah, not including the 100 like day of entry tickets. So we have a lot of tickets to sell. And today is already Wednesday, the party is the day after tomorrow. So please spread the word. Yeah.
Did you say 400 tickets?
Yeah, we have 400 tickets now. Yeah. Okay, and also Shannon, I'm gonna use
and so you guys should have all gotten an email from me with the RSVP form for the financial literacy event. So if anybody who's representing a constituency, please forward that out and CC me so I can know who got who's getting the email. Great.
Alright, cool. Gabby's not here, so we can skip to the social update. Like update?
So, like I said last week, I'm not able to go to any of the School of Engineering conversations on climate. But I did meet with Lourdes and Marlette this week, who are some of the facilitators from this week. And they also attended the first one, and they told me that a lot of like basically what has been discussed as like stressors and things that are just like exacerbating issues are like advisor relationships, as we know, affordability, transparency on process, and they're gonna update me more on the rest of the things, but other than that, we have submitted I forget the actual name, but it's like the acronym is SAS. It's for like sexual assault support something. Sorry, let me just look it up.
Sort of.
But it's good. Let me see. We submitted the diff funding thing, and yeah, and we have like people who are interested in working on it, reaching out to us still, and we're sort of still organizing around it. Yes.
I went to that meeting with SAS, if you want me to
Yes.
give
Can you?
an update more.
Yes.
Yeah, so what SAS is considering doing is creating essentially like peer support squad amongst grad
There we go.
students, essentially, so that if you have somebody in if you're facing harassment in your department, you have somebody who's a peer who you're able to go to, who the hope would be would not have to be a mandatory reporter, which is one of the big hurdles that people face in going to seek support. And so SAS is working on assembling that crew and essentially creating a solid proposal that they got into diff,
Yeah.
and that they will be pitching further to the university to see this. Other universities have this, and I think there might be something equivalent in the undergrad program. So yeah, SAS seems like doing great work, and we'll keep you updated on what we're doing.
advocacy and diversity related stuff is. I hope that in some ways, like, you will all be part of DAC, but if your time commitment is a little rugged and you just have time for ideation or communicating certain things, like, that's also acceptable, just like putting that out there, that like let us know why you joined the GSC and like what we can do to help each other.
Any questions? All right, I think we're like 15 minutes ahead of the schedule. Absolute are like funny. Can we do funny press now, or do you think we need to read?
I mean, I don't see that many VSOs.
There's
but
a
we
mic
can
outside. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, okay.
There's one.
Or there are
We have some people waiting.
Maybe we can get.
Okay.
Yeah, you can all come in. You're only for funding.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Let's do the VSO.
Okay. I don't think is the Hindu Student Association here? Stanford InterVarsity Christian Graduate Fellowship?
Yeah.
So they're having an end of the year banquet. It'll be Friday, May 31st from 7 to 9 p.m. in the Old Union Club Ballroom. Old Union Clubhouse Ballroom. They're expecting 65 people. They're requesting, or we're recommending $815 for food based on our cap for dinner.
So it's a hard cap or soft cap?
More so like based on the allowable amount.
Oh, okay.
I think it might also be up against their soft cap.
Cool. Any questions? Seeing none, we will do voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? All right, the funding passes. Congrats.
Okay, and next is the Thai Student Association. Nope. The Stanford Quantum Computing Association. Nope. The Disability Studies Committee. So there is the Disability Studies Conference. It'll be on May 18th from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. in the A3C Ballroom in Old Union. There are 57 RSVPs so far between grads and undergrads at Stanford, and they are requesting $1,572 for event services, $138 for food for their total soft cap.
Okay. Any questions? All right, let's do a voice vote. All those in favor.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
You have
Oh, no, you can go first.
I just, can y'all just speak a little bit about the agenda? Just like what's going to be there, who's welcome, like allies to, like what, who's it for, what?
Yeah, so we have lots of activities throughout the course of the day. At 8 a.m. we have a welcome breakfast for all the panelists and then also attendees to join. And then at 9 a.m. we have a keynote speaker. Her name is Elizabeth Elsasor. She's a media studies and disability studies scholar interested in those intersections. Also throughout the course of the day, I'm arranging an art exhibit of local artists working about, like, on disability and representation, so calling in community members that way. We also have a dance performance by Access, this awesome dance company, so inviting people in that way. We have panels, and then we also have a social hour 8 to 9 p.m. That's why it goes on so long, where we're also inviting community members, grad students to join and sort of debrief what's been happening across the course of the day. So it's very open to people who don't have a lot of familiarity with disability studies, and what we've asked our keynote speaker to do is to really kind of provide a lot of context for kind of like, what is this new field, how can we sort of think about it in intersections with lots of other departments across campus.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, we're trying to create a very open and accessible event. And that includes a lot of grad students, but also we're inviting community members and staff and faculty to attend our event and get disability studies more in the eye of administration and labor.
I don't have a question. I'm just in a disability law class and I just
Jordan,
love. Durham's doing it and Professor Rabia Bell, and I just like love a flyer so I can like make sure everyone gets invited. So that's it.
Yeah, I would love that.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Let's do a voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Alright, the voting passes. Congrats.
Yeah, I was
yeah.
gonna say.
I can.
I think I forwarded it to the GSB members.
Oh, but I'm
Down.
not in the members one. There we go. It's my fault.
No, I don't.
Okay, okay, cool. They just someday when I
Okay.
I think so, I think you.
Yeah, I'll get Turkish Student Association or Muslim?
Phew.
Okay.
Yeah, go right next.
So, the Turkish Student Association, joint with the Muslim Student Union, is having an iftar. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it, but it's on May 25th at 8:15 p.m. in the Bechtel International Center. They're expecting 120 people, and they're requesting $1,300 for food and $50 for event services.
Alright, questions or comments? Alright, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Okay, the voting passes.
Okay, Scandinavians at Stanford. Okay, so you're having the Valborg barbecue event on May 25th from 3:30 to 6:30 p.m. in the Lake Lagunita barbecue pit. They're expecting 75 people, all graduate students, and we are recommending $387 for food, $178 for alcohol, and $59.50 for event services.
Okay. Questions or comments? Alright, let's do voice votes. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Okay, the voting passes. Congrats.
Graduate students in applied physics and physics.
Yep.
Thank you. So GSAP and SAC are having a mixer. It'll be May 31st from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. in the patio behind the Science Teaching and Learning Center, which is the chemistry building, which is in the chemistry building. They're expecting 90 people, and they're requesting $400 for alcohol and $160 for food.
Alright. Questions or comments? Okay, let's do a voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Okay, the voting passes.
Yeah. Cardinal West Coast Swing. Okay. So go back up to the top. Hindu Student Association. So you're having the Bhajan, which is a devotional singing event and religious service. It'll be in the Circle Sanctuary, which is the 3rd floor of Old Union, and it'll be June 7th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. They're expecting 100 students total, and they're requesting $170. Or I guess they're requesting $200 for event services, and there won't be food.
Cool. Any questions or comments? Alright, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Okay, the voting passes.
And is there any other VSO that I
I
missed?
think the Thai.
Yeah.
Oh, it's here, okay,
Yeah.
the Thai Student Association. Okay, the Thai Student Association is having the Thai farewell party for graduating seniors. It'll be on Sunday, May 26th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and it'll be in the Studio 5, either in Studio 5 or the Great Room at Kennedy. Still haven't. Okay. So it'll be for 100 people, and they are requesting, because of their soft cap, we are recommending $599, which would basically max out.
Okay.
How open is it to the general student body?
Yeah, we are open to every graduate students and like undergrad students.
Any other questions? Alright, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Okay, the voting passes. Congrats. How many do we have, like, not,
This-
voted today?
Stanford Quantum Computing and Cardinal West Coast Swing.
Okay,
It's just 2.
I'm gonna ask our R&D to come in and do the update first, and if they come by, we can do them after the R&Ds and bill for the elections commission, because the elections commission have to leave at 7. Okay. Hello.
Is this new or what?
Oh, it's new.
Yeah, I missed
They
this
just
last
started-
meeting.
They started the last meeting.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, they
what's
started
the reasoning behind that? Just
Well, it's live
to
stream.
prove that people said what they said, or? Oh, it's live.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this one isn't.
I hope you see my bald spot.
Yeah. They like saw me, like saw me, like.
I was,
anyways, yeah.
I like dumped hot sauce all over
We
my
have-
face.
Wow, we're sitting on the food plot.
Yeah.
oh man, this is
Are you the quantity?
male pattern baldness.
You're not in the shot at all.
So,
Oh, thank God. No, don't worry about it. Is this also for the undergraduate center?
Yeah. That's where they started it.
Alright, let's get started. Next evening.
I'll start. Should we introduce ourselves again, or we good?
Yes.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, please introduce.
I'm Imogen Hines, I'm the Executive Director of R&D Student Housing Operations.
I'm Jocelyn Breland, I'm Executive Director for Strategic Communications at RDE.
Eric Montel, Executive Director for Stanford Dining. Ichik, I was gonna ask, is the other co-chair?
Yes, the other co-chair, she cannot make it for the entire quarter until 7.
Oh, okay, then we're
Okay.
fine, we're just
Alright.
hoping to meet her.
Yes. Okay, we're gonna come to the, she will come to the meeting with, Dr. Scherer.
Okay, got it, okay, perfect.
Okay. So I just have a brief update, regarding the lottery, which closed last Friday. The numbers are still changing a little bit, so after it runs next week, the end of next week, I'll be able to give a little bit more definitive information. But it still looks about the same as last year in most all the categories, singles, couples, and families for the numbers of applicants, very similar. We did make, extra effort, which we've done the past couple of years, but we actually waited until after the lottery officially closed to find out what students may have not renewed but were eligible for renewing. And we distributed paper flyers to those locations both on and off campus, which did bring about several folks turning in applications for renewal, which we were able to, put into the renewal pool. It was, quite a bit of work to do, but we're glad we did it. We had students come in with the flyer to say, let me sign up. I would like to think about how we can do that even better, or how we can encourage. Certainly there were thousands of folks who got their stuff in on time, but there's still some students who don't. And so there may be some ideas, looking forward into the future of how we can do that a little bit better. We also did have 5 reminder emails that we sent out, but we realized email is not the only way, and so that would.
The grapevine emails of the crowded emails weeks, like last week we were trying to send out the photograph formal, and it was like right at the bottom of the email. I think it was the
Yeah.
5 or 6 item on the email.
Yeah,
So
so busier time for emails going out
Yes,
too.
now it's probably this, like the entire year.
Yeah, so, yeah, I would appreciate ideas, you know, if they come to you, you can do that, but we're happy with what has turned out so far, and that people did get their applications in. And let's see, I think that was about it, that's everything I have for the lottery.
Great, and then just as a reminder, we have spring fair happening tomorrow. In AFTC, we're having a Persian menu actually, so Gabby, I sent the information to Gabby, she's put it on the Facebook page, so you should see exactly what the menu is, and we welcome all grad students to come and enjoy our spring fair.
Any questions or comments towards R&D? Shannon?
I think it might not be fair for some students, say from India or Vietnam, that if they want to try their home style food, they can, because those are held in the locations at Wilbur and Lakeside, which they don't have access to. So would it be possible to make an exemption for tomorrow's event so that grad students can actually effectively access all the dining halls? Because this is just one day, and I believe for someone from India or Vietnam, it will be awesome if they can try their home style food.
Sure, I mean, we have to look into that, because it's a higher level decision, so because of that HPE and the meals that are happening in those locations. So it's not something I could just answer today, but we'll look into that as soon as we can. What?
I was wondering, so, there was the gender inclusive new questions that were added into the lottery, and now that it's passed, I was wondering, like, how that went, if you guys have
meeting or after the lottery, we'll gather some input. We have a graduate housing advisory committee meeting coming up. Actually, I think it's in a couple of weeks, so we definitely will have that information that'll be full because several members of that helped on that subcommittee to put together. But if I have information ahead of time, I can bring it here or we'll bring it to the next meeting. But we definitely are looking at that and seeing ways to improve if we need to do that.
And the lottery numbers for this year similar to past years in terms of number of applicants and
Yeah, that very similar. So yeah, I don't have the exact numbers, and partly because some things are going to be changing, but it's been pretty consistent throughout. The one thing that I remembered is that there were a few less singles. Again, we're not talking tons, just a few less, but a few more couples. So we are looking at it balances, but it does mean more couples. It also means that we will be looking for locations for couples housing. So that will probably, I would say, the studios will be where we will be looking at, again, balancing with the single student demand. But that's the only place that we're able to expand right now until EVGR opens. But that probably will be what we see. Once I have the numbers, I'll be able to share that with you.
That's good.
Any other questions? All right.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you.
Absolutely. I think one of the listeners here.
The
Quantum is here.
What's the other one? The Cardinal West Coast.
Yeah.
They're not here.
But okay, Stanford Quantum Computing. Okay. So they are applying for a funding modification. So we approved for an event which was the demo day, but now it's being moved to an industry lunch.
Yeah.
Right? So they're having an industry lunch on May 28th from 12 to 1 p.m.
You actually updated the calendar, it's 30th now.
Okay, so
Yeah.
okay. Did you update the location also?
Yeah.
Where is it gonna be?
Like I think it's still TBD, sorry.
Okay.
That was the TBD.
Okay. And they're expecting 40 people, and they are requesting, or we're recommending, or they're requesting $350 for food. We're recommending $320, I think, based on like our own guidelines. But they just want to shift money. We've already approved for $500, but they want to shift $320 from that to this event instead. So they're just asking for basically a new event, but the money's already been allocated. That makes sense.
Any questions, comments? All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? All right, the one passes. So Cardinal West Coast swing is not here.
No.
Okay, we can move on to the next one. I'm gonna bring the confirmed elections commission for 2019 to 20, like right now. Now opposite election.
Awesome.
Right?
Thank
Go
you.
ahead, Lily.
So Jacob couldn't be here tonight. He was the past elections commissioner for this past year, but Christian is here tonight, who is the proposed new elections commissioner. So a committee formed of myself, Jacob, Erica, and Isaiah, who are the ASSU president VP. And we went over questions as well as the candidate interviews, and we found that Christian was a stellar candidate. And also served as assistant elections commissioner last year, so he's here to be able to introduce himself.
Wonderful, thank you so much, Lomo. I'll stand up, since this is a much larger room than yesterday's meeting. But welcome everyone, my name is Christian Guiadalor. I'm very excited to be able to serve in elections commission this year, or for the 2019-2020 school year. Ultimately, what encouraged me to apply in elections commission the start of this school year was because witnessing student body elections as a freshman, I realized that we had a big issue with student engagement, with political apathy, and people not necessarily realizing how the ASSU can advocate on their behalf. And so my real goal for this upcoming school year is to figure out how we can better engage communities, both in the undergraduate, but especially at the graduate level, recognizing that turnout was so low, figuring out why that is the case, figuring out how graduate students can better understand how ASSU can advocate for them and thus have more buy-in into our political system. And most importantly, I'm just really excited to be able to serve and work with y'all, work with a variety of ASSU bodies to ensure that I can do an excellent job. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone have any questions about this bill or like questions towards Christian? Because this is only on previous notice. We will vote on this next week.
I guess I have a question around like engagement with grad students is always hard in terms of turnout and just like what are some of your thoughts for how to engage the graduate student body? Yeah.
So as an undergraduate, I don't have a lot of exposure. However, I did get the opportunity to talk to someone who was a GSE candidate, and what he told me was that a lot of both himself and other candidates ultimately didn't do advertising, felt like there was not necessarily a huge need for advertising. And I thought that was such a strikingly different experience in the undergraduates where there's blasts of emails and all the different email lists and listservs. So my goal is to designate someone on the Elections Commission as an assistant elections commissioner who can focus on community engagement and do need fighting exercises to better understand what specifically is happening in the graduate student body and figuring out how we can best target them to increase turnout.
Cool.
But if you have any more questions, I'm more than happy to leave you with my email and my phone number.
Sure, that would be great.
Awesome.
Okay, Nomo, could you pass his contact information to us?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Wonderful.
Any other questions? All right, we will leave this to next meeting, and I noticed it requires 2/3 of approval of the entire GSA, right?
Correct. Of both legislative bodies.
Perfect. Okay. Let's wait until next week to vote on this, and Christian, you will come in again next week, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Are you from Cardinal?
No.
Oh, you're not from WSO.
No, I'm Julia. I'm one of the at-large
Oh,
councilors.
okay. Sorry, my
Okay,
bad.
don't worry about it.
My bad.
No, I always come late because I've passed.
Okay.
So,
Sorry, my bad.
I'm just saying, like, for attendance and stuff, we have someone that maybe.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. We are going to do officer election first, then we will have a budget presentation by normal. So let's do officer election. As I put out in the agenda email, we are going to finish all the officer election tonight. And let's go through the list. The first one is parliamentarian. Who is interested in becoming a parliamentarian next year?
Who's not here? I can ask.
I guess.
Who's
Like
not
how
here?
many? I just didn't remember.
There is, how many is not here?
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have.
I'm just curious. Oh, just
Two? Yeah. I think one of them is like, one of them withdrew his name from the council, so actually only one, the other co-chair is not here. So everybody else.
Oh, I got it.
And three people technically are.
Yes, three not here, and one, actually two is not here, because one of them said he's not interested in a lot of Alright, Anna?
I propose myself, and I will do I will redo the transparency drawings.
Yeah, that's great.
I will
I nominate Anna. Alright, everybody alright, let's do a vote. All those in favor of approving Anna becoming our next parliamentarian, please raise your hands. Oh, could you do the count? My hand is above the sky.
Okay. 11.
11, okay. All those opposed? Seriously?
I'm kidding. I'm just, everybody's laughing.
Yeah, I know. All those abstain? Please, yes. Okay, one abstain, 11 approval. Alright, congratulations.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Alright, financial literacy coordinator. Who is interested in becoming the next financial literacy coordinator?
Shauna, or?
No, she is not here. She doesn't know.
Oh, okay. I thought she wanted to do one of the things that she was doing this year.
Yeah, I thought she wanted to do financial.
Financial?
She said she didn't want to do the food star.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I can defer this position to next week.
Unless someone else.
Yeah, unless someone wants to do it.
Do what?
Financial literacy coordinator. If no one wants to do it, I will defer it until Chandler comes in, or I'm gonna shoot her email.
I think that's what she had said.
Okay, cool. Alright, if no objection, I'm gonna defer this to next week. Okay. Cool, food saver. Who wants to order food first? Alright, Amina? Alright, I'm gonna nominate Amina to become our next. Cool. all those in favor of approving Amina to become our next food student, please raise your
I
hand.
have a question. Did she say that she wanted to do it?
Yeah, she
Oh,
did.
okay.
Yeah. I'm not gonna, point people. Gary, can you do it?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Perfect. Opposed? Abstention? What else? Abstention. Perfect. Congratulations.
Like, I have a.
Go ahead.
So to make reimbursement easier, I'm borrowing my old organization. So our FO had like a Google Doc to help fill out like some of the details, so that when you give me, you'll still have to email me the receipts so I can upload them into the thing. But because that Google form will have like summary description stuff ready, I can like do it as soon as I see the email, versus if you only send me the email with not enough information, then I have to like reply and say, can you tell me like the description and stuff? So I'll give you a link for the Google Doc so that you can put it on every agenda at the bottom, so you won't have to ask me for it either.
Okay.
And so everyone will always see it, so if you ever have reimbursement, I think it'll just be easier. But especially for you, because you'll have to, if you have to buy this constantly, it'll drain your bank account quickly if I can't approve it quickly.
I think that she can actually input it into GrantEd as a Stanford affiliate, and so she do the first
She
part
can just
of it.
Yeah, I think she can submit a
Oh,
request.
it's in, yeah,
Let me see if I can.
like check that. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I did
Yeah,
see.
I
Okay.
understand what you mean by it being internal, but I'm gonna check and see if we can do something,
Okay.
cause.
Yeah, cause I did see Shauna, she had a couple like pending ones that I guess.
Yeah, she
had
does.
never got to.
So typically what happens is that somebody
Okay.
submits, I don't know whether everybody can submit a request to reimbursement, but I do know Gabby and FO and co-chairs, they can submit a request. And I will, like, all of us will receive an email saying, hey, you get this pending, reimbursement request. And like other people can approve it, like including me, I approve them constantly. But I'm not sure whether Amina has the, access to
Yeah,
that.
I can,
Yeah.
I mean, we can confirm with Shauna too as well.
The other thing I could do is I could set up a dummy BSL account with the money thing for food, if I can't get this changed to make it easier for you.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
I'll also give you the link for other people.
Hi, my email is S and then Benton, BENTON, and then at Stanford. If you just shoot me an email, then I'll have yours and I'll be able to reply to you.
Oh, by the way, speaking of money, I checked our discretionary account. There are $6,000 and some change in it. So I think we can organize a retreat with that money.
Yeah, yes, yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah, we can come up with creative
Just
ways.
kidding. Cool. Alright, what's the next question? The DACA liaison.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, aren't there two positions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need more
Yes,
explanation,
explain.
yes please.
Okay, so essentially, so DAC used to be a lot more independent of the GSC, even though the GSC created DAC. DAC, yeah, kind of drifted away from GSC for a while. And then I sort of helped bring it back. And
Can you say what DAC is?
oh, DAC is the Diversity and Advocacy Committee.
Okay.
It was created by the GSC to advocate for greater diversity in the graduate admissions pool and to further retention, programming around students from marginalized identities. And it was created, and then a lot of the folks who were involved were not necessarily members of the GSC, and the meetings were actually at the same time as these Wednesday night meetings, and so there was a long time where the communication was really poor between the GSC and DAC. And then we really thought, okay, we should be coordinating our efforts, and so we created this position of GSC DAC liaison, which was one of the co-chairs of DAC would be a GSC member who would be designated to sort of be connecting the two. That said, there are 4 positions on DAC and essentially, Anna is right now doing the GSC liaison role, which is essentially the co-chair role that's facing the GSC. The other roles are advocacy coordinator, which is what I've been doing the past year. We have the other co-chair, which does a lot more internal facing stuff for organizing our meetings, making sure our membership is there. They can also be a GSC member, of course, but sort of the external facing part is what Anna's been doing. And then the fourth position is events coordinator, which is somebody doing programming around supporting communities for marginalized identities, doing events around activism, around the history of students for marginalized identities at Stanford, and so those are the four positions.
Sounds like your kind of position.
Yeah, that's right. So I did that event on the history of activism. Yeah, sort of trying to do that.
Yeah, I have a question. So which ones have to be basically generated by GSC?
The DAC co-chair.
The DAC co-chair.
Which is one that you.
Yes.
Yes. So is that the only position out of GSC, right?
Yeah, I mean, the other positions are also open to GSC members, if that makes sense.
So what we're doing sort of two simultaneous searches. Yeah, we're publicizing this to the DAC membership itself, because people on DAC don't necessarily have to be on GSC, but we're publicizing it here as well. There's one position that has to be a GSC member, and that's the liaison. But there are those three other positions as well.
Okay, so we're gonna elect the liaison tonight.
Yes.
Alright. Cool.
Just the swing. Yes.
Is it
Are you swaying?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Let's finish the election.
Yeah.
Let's have fun. Okay. Who is interested in becoming the next DACA liaison next year? Anna? Yeah. I'm gonna nominate Anna to come out next. I never finished my sentence. Alright. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Objection. Abstention. Alright, 11-1. Perfect, congratulations. Okay, the next one is hard. The social events coordinator. So,
right?
Yes, we can elect 2 or we can elect 1.
We need at least one.
Yeah, we need at least 1. And the issue, Gabby's not here, but I talked to her last night through Messenger, and she said she has some personal issues, so she cannot do next year's social events, the social chair, but she can do until the new grad student orientation, so which is until the end of the summer. She can work on that. But afterwards, when the school starts, she's just too busy to finish her thesis and graduate. So she really wants someone who are willing to come out and do all the social events. Please, because according to the bylaw, if nobody does it, I have to do it. So I'm asking my counsel.
I have a question. I remember reading in the GSC Hero app, I think it's called, like where you write your statements for where people vote for you, and I remember seeing some people were really interested in increasing like social programming. Not that we don't look. I'm just saying is there anyone who like joined the GSC for social reason to like create those opportunities? I feel like this is the best avenue. Not only this is like your best opportunity to get paid to do the things that you want to do for the GSC.
And you get to know a lot of people. Like Gabby and I remember walking on the street. A lot of people say hi to Gabby, and nobody say hi to me. Say
That's hilarious.
I would be willing to do it, but I prefer not to. So
That's good.
Or like maybe.
So. Alright, say love.
It's just like, actually, let me ask you a question. How many social events are there a year?
I would say the big ones, 5 to 6. The big ones.
So it's
Thanksgiving.
So Halloween, Valentine's Day,
NGSO.
NGSO, grad formal,
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving already included.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So at least 5 this year.
She just started doing also 4th of July this year.
Oh yeah.
But it, yeah.
Also, it can be what we want it to be.
Yeah,
like,
it
like,
doesn't have to be everything.
Except for grad formal, everything else is
like pretty
Optional.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure Gabby will help you like through the process. Gabby is super helpful like in all the events.
Like for example, I don't know if the back to school one is really that necessary, even though it's like part of NGSO, but like Halloween's right around the corner and people really care about
Just make it a back to school / Halloween.
Yeah, you would just do both in one.
Oh my
instead of 2 parties.
I mean, like, I don't know, I'm already CA, I do like all the events in the law school, like, I can like, it wouldn't, like, it's like a thing I can do, but if other people wanna do it, they should do it.
Can we also outsource, like, one of the social chairs positions?
Yes.
Because it seems like there's not enough time.
Yeah, sure.
But, like, there might be other people who are interested.
Well, we needed this one from JC.
Oh, okay, that's what we were saying, got it.
We need to, otherwise the person who has, the issue is that the person who is a social chair has to come to JC every time to give the social updates. So that's a problem, that's why we wanted to do JC members, so we can get some people outside the JC don't have to even come to here, honestly, yeah. I'm waiting for you. I mean, I can help you and Gabby would definitely help you.
Okay, yeah, we'll definitely appreciate help.
We will definitely provide help, and I mean, as a chair, I can help you whatever. And especially, as everybody knows, all the council knows, I was on the Chinese Student Association for a year, and I organized a lot of events. So I would be more than happy to help you like, with all the events, especially with the sale.
Okay.
Cool. I'm gonna nominate Julia to become our next social chair.
She's like,
woo! Alright. Second? Okay, perfect. All those in favor of approving Julia.
Oh yeah, everybody's like reluctantly taking this social.
To become the social chair, please raise your hand.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Okay. Opposed? This council has been the funniest I ever been. I've been on 3 councils. Okay. Abstention? Alright. Perfect. Congratulations.
You want somebody to be like on a, like, I guess a non-council member to be on a committee, does it have to be voted on by the council?
Yes.
Does a person have to be present?
Not every week, but like during the election.
vote?
Yeah, during the vote they need to come here.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you have a social co-chair in mind?
Funding committee.
You know the reason you are sitting so far from each other?
No, but didn't Richie want to do co-chair later? Sorry, Ricky?
Ray?
Ray? Shit.
Oh, he's no longer on the JC.
oh, he's no longer on GSC.
Yeah, he's no longer on the JC.
Also, I just want to say that I have been up since very early this morning. So, sorry.
No worries. I'm not gonna tell him. Alright, last one. Survey commissioner. The new position. You want to give a...
Right, I'll give an explanation.
Yeah, give an explanation. This is a new position.
So, the GSC has a history of running surveys. We ran one 2 years ago, and then we ran one 12 years ago. And it's essentially...
Well,
12, yeah.
It is 1, 2, it's not.
12 years ago, yeah. Anyway, well, and then 22 years ago, we ran a survey on housing. So we actually have a history of doing these surveys, preferably not every 10 years. So essentially, what we find is it's really important to have data on graduate student experience. So whenever we're going into advocacy settings, we can be like, hey, here are what the grad students say their priorities are. Here are what students are saying are the biggest difficulties with mental health. Here are what students say their budgets are. And so it's really good to be able to have that data. And I found this 2 years ago when we did designed and carried out this survey. We got 1,600 grad students to respond, and it was very good. And so the task of the survey commissioner is, now that it's time to do the survey again, we're trying to do it every 2 years, is to solidify what the questions are that we're gonna be asking, run a test survey with sort of a group of people, see if they have any feedback, if the system's working, and then adjust questions accordingly. Administer the survey. That all will hopefully happen, the design will happen in fall quarter of next year, the survey will happen in winter quarter, and the data analysis will happen in winter through spring, at which point we'll release a report. So that's the timeline of things, those are the duties. Yes, that last part of putting together the report is important. We do that in collaboration with DAC, and the DAC membership actually helps assemble the report, where we sort of delegate, hey, can somebody take on healthcare and sort of analyze all the healthcare questions, and then they become the point person for all the healthcare data. So that's how that whole process works, so you're not doing it alone. And it's, I find, really rewarding, and you get to confirm all of, in my mind, like, all of the things of, like, yes, my rent is really high, and everybody else thinks the same thing. Like, it's very actually, like, validating to make sure that, like, actually all this stuff is backed in data. So I find it really rewarding. So that's the role. Any questions on that? Please.
So is this work kind of done in tandem with Stanford and kind of creating a survey or disseminating? Like, just want to get a sense of, I guess, what is the extent of collaboration?
So in the past we haven't collaborated with, by Stanford do you mean the university administration? Yeah, we haven't collaborated with them until the point of releasing the survey report. But I think that's actually a really good idea to do for next year, because something that we encountered was we'd have this data, and then folks in the administration would be like, I don't believe that. And like, can you send us the data? And then I'd send it, and they'd be like, oh, you don't collect data the same way we collect data. So there were issues of coordination. So it really
Right, your epistemology is not legible to us.
I mean, it's as simple things about how we categorize students based on which schools they're in and which degree programs they're in. So I was able to say, like, yeah, just like, if you're doing a master's in some field in STEM, is it classified as an MA or an MSc? Like, there are a bunch of different categories that actually had real impacts about how we analyzed it. It was really technical.
But also bullshit.
I'm just saying that there are other reasons other reasons for admin to not be able to whether in earnest or not, to take survey data seriously. So it would be really nice to be able to have, in some sense, be able to hold Stanford's administration accountable and say, you are basically complicit in our data collection. These methods of collecting data about Stanford students living in economic conditions should be legible to you.
Right.
You don't get to use the same excuses you've used before.
Yes, that's absolutely right.
And like, I use the document a lot in my advocacy work, and I get this kind of like questioning all the time. So I think like whoever is the commissioner should do the work to see how like they can use administrator stuff, but the power of the administrators. But then the other thing is that when I have asked them, when they have challenged me, when administrators have been like, well, we like checked up on this and it seems like blah blah blah, I ask them, so what can we do for the future surveys to make it more accessible to y'all? And their answers are always like, no, this is great, like, don't change anything. So I'm just saying that like, it's not going to be easy and we shouldn't depend on it, but we should try, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other question that we'll have to encounter sort of later along the line is like sometimes admins want data itself, like of like, which is really helpful. Like I mean, like Patty was like, you know, I'm willing to take a look at this data and have somebody in my office process it, which is great. But there is issue about student anonymity, just because at a certain point, if you're like, oh, like I'm a non-binary student of color in CS, like the number of students that way is like really, it can be limited, and so you can actually pinpoint individual students' responses. So that is a sort of ethical conundrum that like.
Well, we can ask if they're willing for the data to be shared with admins.
When they fill out the survey. So yeah, it's a question later along the line about to what extent are we thinking about that collaboration and how are we defining privacy.
And especially considering that our communication with students now much improved than previous years, because I remember previous years we didn't have so many grad-wide emails, and now I think in the past year we sent out at least a dozen. So it would be helpful to get more student input.
Yeah, we did focus groups the last time we did a survey, which was very helpful. Like, have free dinner and take a survey, and what questions do you want to see on here that aren't on there?
Should also pay people to take the survey.
Last time, I think we did a raffle of the gift cards, so we weren't able to fund it at the same level as
Yeah, that Title IX survey was $20 a plate.
that one was for it. Yeah.
I was shocked it was not 100%. I was like, what? It's $20. It's for free.
Well, there is like some people that do have trauma that like don't necessarily want to relive it, and $20 is not enough to do that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
How much should we pay?
I think we did like maybe there were like 20, like $50. We did a high amount, but not a lot. Which actually worked. I think 1,600 was pretty good turnout for that.
Yeah, more people. That's like about the same number of people that voted, or something, like more than people.
And it's a long survey too, so.
All right. Who is interested in becoming the first survey function? Shannon? Hey!
Nominate Shannon!
Okay, I'm gonna second it. Alright, all those in favor.
Wait, I'm also interested.
Oh, you're also cool. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, shoot. Oh.
Do you guys want to do like server together?
I don't mind. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, doing it together sounds great.
Okay, perfect. That's great. Alright, I'm gonna nominate Carrie and Shannon to become our next survey commissioner.
Commissioners.
Commissioners.
Yes.
Alright, any second?
I second.
Okay, perfect. All those in favor, please raise your hand. You can't?
Oh.
Just a reminder. David, could you do it?
1 second.
Okay, perfect. Mateo, that's a nice.
1,
Oh.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Okay. Opposed? Abstention? Alright, 2 abstention. Alright, congratulations to you. Guys, we finished this. I'm so happy.
Okay, but we still need financial.
Oh, financial literacy coordinator. I have.
We still need financial literacy. We still need financial co-chair. And we still need a social co-chair.
Huh?
About financial co-chair. As
Yes.
it brings up.
Oh, you
so,
so
I actually looked and planned out what I'm doing for next year. Is that I'm going to take the financial co-chair position for the full year next year.
The funding.
The funding.
Yeah, the funding.
The
Yeah,
funding.
sorry.
We,
So, yeah.
we can extend because last time we only voted for you for the until 4 quarter, right? So we can extend to for the entire 4 year.
But didn't we already send out that? Why?
And 1 student responded.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh, but you just take them on next. Right?
Yeah.
That sounds
You want them
great. As many.
As many as possible. As many as it can be. I'm looking at Julia. As many social culture. Do you need me to send a grandma email?
I have a couple people in mind from outside of
Perfect.
JC.
Yeah. Okay. I would nominate Amina for the remaining the entire year to be the funding committee co-chair. Do I have a second?
Second.
Carrie? Alright, I have a second. So all those in favor of extending Amina to become our another funding co-chair, funding committee co-chair for the entire next year, please raise your hands.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Alright, opposed? Abstention? One abstention. Perfect. Thank you guys. Alright, do we have the cardinal? Are you the reso? Perfect. I want to get all the event, everything on the agenda tonight to over. Alright, Absula, we have a.
Yeah, Amina's gonna do it.
Okay.
Okay, so we have the Cardinal West Coast Swing. They have their swing social and workshop on May 24th at 8 p.m. in the Havana Room. They're expecting 30 people, and they're requesting $290 for honoraria and snacks.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, we will do a voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Okay, the funding passes.
Yes.
Okay, guys, we're gonna enter into a closed session for our next year's budget. So whoever is not a GSE member, and please turn off the camera. I know it's live streaming, so whoever is not a GSE member or SSE, the Stanford student